Was created to do away with the Reservoir Commission and district that was established in 2003. This district, it was established, as I said, in 2003. There is no reservoir. I mean, there's been a commission, and I believe the commission had good intentions. But all the while that the planning and their work was going on, people have been worried and living under the cloud, literally, of homes and cemeteries in the area being flooded. I mean, this was something that at some point in time they expected to lose their family, land, and property. There's not been a spade of dirt turned to create a reservoir. I mean, there's been lots of planning, there's been lots of talking, and it's created a lot of fear in the community. There's been money spent. There has been requests for permits to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that have been denied. We're at a point, maybe in 2003, Louisiana was at a point where a reservoir sounded like a great idea for expansion and economic development. We're at a point now where Louisiana can't afford to put more money into planning and discussing a reservoir. We're, personally in the middle of this district where this reservoir is planned, we may not have a hospital by summer. And I believe if you're weighing healthcare or a reservoir, healthcare's got to win out on that argument. I've also, over the past few years, heard little to no, really, I can't think of anyone who has said positively they can't wait for the reservoir. This is not something with public support. The support for the reservoir comes from within the Reservoir Commission. So I'm asking for you to take this fear away, to allow this district, for this parish to move forward without the divisiveness and the concern that a lot of the people have that this reservoir will be going over their property.
Okay, we have 3 cards in support. Does anyone that's in support want to speak? Come up, please. And state your name for the record.
My name is Philip Bedwell. Madam Chair, thank you and the committee members for allowing me to speak this morning. As Senator Mizell stated, this commission started in 2003. Since then, there has been 3 permits filed with the Corps of Engineers. 2 of them were withdrawn. The 3rd permit was actually denied by the Corps of Engineers. Okay, all right. In the Corps of Engineers denial letter to the commission from back in June of last year, they state, in particular, you did not demonstrate that the Bogalusa Creek site is the least environmentally damaged practical alternative by which the purposes and need for the project may be accomplished. This determination largely results from the fact that inadequate information about the project was provided, precluding full and accurate assessment of environmental impacts. Similarly, there was insufficient information presented upon which to determine that the proposed project is in the public interest. So the Corps of Engineers has already told the Commission that what they're trying to do is not in the public interest. The total denial letter was over 120 pages, but the substance of it was really about 60-something pages. Another area, they say the applicant has not provided recent data to support the need for additional potable and non-potable water in Washington Parish based on population growth. No information was submitted to indicate potential water uses or customers or the location of water treatment facilities and associate facilities. This commission has spent over $3 million so far of the state taxpayer money, and they are requesting millions of dollars more. But they can't provide the information over 13 years to the Corps of Engineers that they need just to get the first permit. In the original, as far as money goes, in 2004 dollars, And the Corps in their denial letter says all the numbers as far as money were provided in 2004 dollars. The applicant has not provided more recent data. In 2004 dollars, the cost was going to be $29 million. That did not include, cost did not include wetland mitigation, which if I'm correct, there's about 1,000 acres, biological or cultural surveys and mitigation, land acquisitions or relocations. The applicant has not provided more recent data. So from 2004 to 2016, over 12 years, they've not provided any more recent data about what it's going to cost. I would hate to know what the cost is if it was $29 million in 2004, what it's going to be in today's dollars or 10 years from now if it's ever done. One of the proposal that they're saying is going to cut off in two places a major highway that goes through the center of the parish, Highway 439. It's going to cause the rerouting of school buses, of emergency traffic, because now from one side of the parish to the other, the emergency vehicles now are going to have to go around. So there's a lot of issues, and all these green tags in this report is where the Corps of Engineers told the applicant that they did not provide the information that they were supposed to provide. They've had 13 years. If they can't do it in 13 years, I think it's time for it to go away. Not including all of the emotional impact of the people that they're going to have their houses flooded, their land taken away, that they've been living under for 13 years. So I thank you very much. I'm willing to answer questions if anyone has any.
Senator Mills does have a question, Mr. Bedwell.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your testimony. I was reading the digest, and it talks about the powers and duties of the commission, and it says that they shall have the authority to buy and sell bonds, levy taxes, negotiate contracts, incur debt, negotiate certain things. Have they done any of that? That if you unwind this maybe causes some issues for bondholders or
Not
debt
to my-
incurred or taxes that have been incurred?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Does that break up any? Have y'all checked on all that?
There's never been any public knowledge made of it.
Not that I'm aware that they've did.
Yes, sir.
Everything they've spent of over the $3 million they've spent came out from the state, going through Department of Transportation, if I understand it correctly.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Matt.
Senator Martini.
I apologize. It's on? Okay. Obviously, this, judging by the number of red cards I see up here, this is a source of some discussion. Have you talked to the opposition, and have they expressed to you why they think they need to keep this going? That's what I'm curious. If it was created 13 years ago and nothing's been done, and maybe I should be waiting for them to come up and testify. I don't know if any of them say they want to testify, but that's what I'm interested in.
No, sir. I have not spoken to any of them about this. Just as a side note, back in February of last year, I requested to see the books and the information that there's the depository book that the commission was supposed to be maintaining. It took me until June to get permission. I've got 2 letters from their lawyer stating that the commission referred me to their website of the Louisiana Department of Administration when those public records are supposed to be open. And I've got the letters in my briefcase if anybody wants to see them, where it took me from February to June to get access to the books.
Well, if they, and again, maybe I'm asking the wrong people. If their lawyers are responding to you, obviously somebody's doing, whether they're doing something worthwhile or not, it's another issue. But let me ask you this, and I don't mean this with any disrespect. What is your interest in this? Are you one of the landowners that would be affected?
I do not have any personal land involved. It is abhorrent to me and a travesty that a agency with the power of the government behind them is going to be taking private land from people when there's not a need for it.
And are you telling us there has been no attempt by that entity to take private land from anybody during that 13-year period?
Not because they couldn't get a permit passed. They haven't even got the original permit from the Corps of Engineers passed to even be able to start the process.
But they've applied for the permit.
Yeah, and it was denied.
And it was denied. When?
It is
when was
currently in
that?
appeal status.
It's in the appeal
It was
status.
denied in June, and it's been in appeal
Okay.
status.
All right, I'll wait to hear the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Mr. Philip
That
Bedwell
was me. Yes, ma'am.
and Miss Virginia. Are you Miss Virginia?
I'm
Ginger?
Jelon Pittman Beach.
Okay, all right. Do you want to speak?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. I've been in opposition to the Reservoir District since its inception. I've personally started fighting it actively early 2004. You're looking at someone who is directly impacted. My family has land in Washington Parish that would be in the pretty much the middle of the bottom of the reservoir. My family's had this property since the early 1800s. It's been passed down from generation to generation. Of course, emotions are not supposed to matter, but there's great human impact. My father went to his grave being threatened by what the Reservoir Commission was trying to do to him and his family and his heritage in a community that I grew up in that would totally be wiped out. Oak Grove community would be no more. And I have a prepared statement if you'd allow me to read it. The majority of Washington Parish residents are opposed to the construction of a nearly 4,000-acre reservoir lake that would destroy the Oak Grove community that is located in the heart of Washington Parish. Over the years, the Washington Parish Reservoir Commission lost their credibility with the residents of my parish due to their show of disrespect to property owners and citizens who oppose them. They submit inaccurate information to the United States Army Corps of Engineers that directly conflicts with the U.S. Geological Survey data, and they appear shocked when their applications for permit have been denied not once but twice. I have personally testified before the Louisiana State Bond Commission and watched a surveyor legislator vote to fund his own bank account. Yes, he was contracted surveyor for all the Reservoir District. The Bond Commission granted millions of dollars to the Washington Parish Reservoir Commission as well as other reservoir districts across the state with one common denominator, and that is the money that goes straight to one engineering firm, one surveyor, one reservoir consultant. When approving and signing into law these acts that created the reservoir districts, Washington Parish being one of them, the state inadvertently legalized racketeering, and my family, neighbors, and I have become the unwilling victims of greedy legislative developers. This has been in the past. It's been going on a long time. A lot of these people have gone away out of the legislature, but what they left is me dealing with something that they created that has personally hurt my family and my neighbors and threatens the actual people that would live below an earthen dam. As you well know, Washington Parish, parts of St. Tammany, my whole parish was declared a disaster area due to water. People on the Bogalusa Creek that would be dammed by this reservoir would have been killed, not just flooded out of their homes if that dam would have breached. The Washington Parish Reservoir Commission will surely be asking for a few million more dollars this year for their engineer consulting firm, which is the same people every year. Every time you turn around, it's all in their audits that you can hopefully get to. In the past, money has funneled to the reservoir districts with nothing but rich consultants to show for it. The taxpayers of Louisiana are sick and tired of this behavior and waste of taxpayer money. This is one chance to show your constituents that you really care about ridding our state of port projects and commissions that eat up our funds that should be spent on worthwhile services such as education, health care, and infrastructure. I wholeheartedly, with all my heart, support Senate Bill 373 to repeal the Washington Parish Reservoir District. This district has been an abomination, an embarrassment, and an endless money pit, and it will continue if you allow it to exist. And I fully expect the Army Corps of Engineers to reaffirm their original appeal, their denial, because it's ludicrous. And yes, this commission wants to keep in existence, to keep sucking up the money. Follow the money trail. It will make you very sick to your stomach. And we are so needy in our state to be wasting this on projects like this. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak in support? Go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
I'm Virginia Corcoran from Franklinton, Louisiana. Most of what I wanted to tell you has pretty much been covered, but I have been watching this project since 2001 when it was a resolution for recreation. That was done away with because you can't expropriate people's homes for recreational purposes. In 2003, the Act 71 was created, and it gave me a little insight as to what was coming down the pipe. At that point, the bill said, we can come to you, take your home, give you 30 days notice, and you will get out. We can flood your cemeteries. We don't have to give you fair market value for what we take from you. We can hire anybody we want to at any price we want to. And by 2005, we managed to get the thing amended so that the Reservoir Commission did not have total power to even levy taxes on us. As it stands right now, and as I understand it, the state will pay for the basic construction of the reservoir. Now, some people will tell you, oh, we're getting federal funds. Not so. The state will pay for the construction of the reservoir, but the estimate of $29 million was only for the hole that the water goes in and the dam. That does not include land acquisition, moving graves, etc. And I'm not sure if they mentioned it to you, there are 5 cemeteries, including a Choctaw Indian burial site that will be flooded and will have to be moved. And I realize that graves have been moved in the past for a lot of projects around the state, but if there were to be a reservoir built in the parish, there are thousands of acres where that would not have to happen. I do want to tell you that reading that 141-page denial from the Corps of Engineers, that there is strong opposition or at least questionable, serious questions from Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries, Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, Louisiana Natural Heritage Protection, National Environmental Protection Act, Council on Environmental Quality, U.S. Geological Survey, and with U.S. Geological Survey, they have been very handy to give us information because this all started with, oh my God, the aquifer's dying, we have to have a reservoir. Well, their water resources guy came in and talked to us, and he said there is no problem with the aquifer. So since we basically proved there's no problem with the aquifer, the Reservoir Commission has come back with, okay, well, we'll sell water inside and outside the parish. So personally, don't care to see my neighbors flooded out so somebody can sell water to another parish. But I'll try to wrap it up. In addition to the agencies I just mentioned, the Mississippi State Historic Preservation Society, National Register of Historic Places, the Choctaw Nation Historic Preservation, Gulf Restoration Network, Sierra Club, Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation, and the Nature Conservancy all question the need for this reservoir and largely object to it. And you need to know that the Bogalusa Creek feeds into the Pearl River, which feeds into the Pearl River Basin, which feeds into the Wrigley's all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. So a lot of these objections stem from the fact that you're going to change the whole ecosystem from the center of Washington Parish to the Gulf of Mexico by building this reservoir. We have gotten bad information. We have gotten no information over these 13 or 14 years. And I think it's just time to wrap it up and be done with a very negative pit and pendulum type situation. We've all felt like we're just waiting for the axe to fall, and it just needs to be done with. Thank you.
Okay, will you answer questions?
Oh, yes, sure.
Senator Mills?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'm not sure if y'all can answer this, but I don't know y'all local politics. But looking at the 2003 legislation, 7 members would be appointed by the 7 parish council districts. 1 member would be appointed, talking about the board composition, 1 member would be appointed from a list of names submitted by the parish president. What's the parish council's appetite for this legislation in your area? Yeah.
The parish council kind of has a hands-off attitude about it. When new names have been presented to be members of that commission, no action is ever taken. I mean, I know people who've said, listen, I know my councilman's supposed to have put my name in to be on that commission, and they've heard nothing back. So there's, I don't know if there's just kind of want to maintain the status quo and not bring any attention to it from within the council. And frankly, we've got several new members of a council right now, so there could be some confusion as to how to best handle that.
Okay, so I guess I'm just asking the question is, are the councilmen appointing the members, and is it an active
They pretty
board? Is
much
it an
stay
active
there.
commission?
They pretty much stay there.
But they,
Can he answer?
Sure. I mean, I'm just trying to. I'm trying to get past the
Sure,
local
sure,
politics,
sure,
and I'm
sure.
trying to figure out if, you know,
I can tell you for a fact, sir, that back, and I believe the date was August or September, 2 of the the commission members were done for 10-year terms. I think most of them. Some of them have expired over the last few years, but until someone is nominated to replace that person that has an expired term, they stay on the commission. Back in I can get you the exact date. It was August or September. 2 new names were submitted, or 2 council members submitted names to the governor's office to be appointed to the commission to replace 2 of the expired commissioners. I know for a fact I was one of them. As far as I know, that information went to the governor's office, and I can't tell you how it died, but it disappeared because there's been nothing done on those 2 people that were submitted to replace expired commissioners.
and when was that?
It was either August or September, and I know for a fact that 2 of them were sent
Yeah.
because I was one of them.
Okay.
So I can't tell you how it died in the governor's office, but it died in the governor's office.
Okay.
So
But I guess if I was facing the council
Yeah.
and saying, here's this legislation, would the council be in favor or against it? If I was in front of your 7 council members and your parish president, what would be their appetite for this legislation? Or have y'all addressed it? Have you tried to get a resolution? Have you tried to get something on record to bring to this committee in opposition or in favor of this?
Not to this committee. I think the fairest thing to say there is I don't know for sure. I think you'd probably find 3 or 4 of the commissioners would be opposed to the reservoir, and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 in favor. It's, I don't know for a fact because I haven't talked. We have of the 7 commissioners, we have 5 new ones that started in January. So we've only got 2 of the old ones.
So it would be fair to say that they've not had a chance to act on this either positively or negatively.
Right.
It's never been brought up in front of them.
As far as I know, right?
Okay.
May I speak? I think if they took a vote that they would be afraid to pass the reservoir bill because, as I mentioned to you, the state will pay for some of the construction. But when it gets down to buying the land and building the facilities, that's going to be a property tax in Washington Parish. And when the 20% of us who do pay property taxes in that whole parish find out that we're going to have to pay for a reservoir that is going to be many millions of dollars. The Poverty Point Reservoir was $48.5 million. When they hear that that's going to hit their wallets, the council is going to be afraid to approve it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just we usually as a committee, I know from the years I've been here with our chairwoman, we like to know what's the appetite locally on these bills when we have controversy. So that was my questioning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Senator Mills. We have some cards in opposition, so if anyone in opposition would like to speak, now would be your time. And for the record, when before you speak, state your name. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if you will bear with me, I will introduce certain people at certain times.
Okay.
I'm Captain Huey Long Pierce, a lifelong resident of Washington Parish, a former school board president. I'm a veteran, U.S. Naval Reserve, serving both as enlisted and officer, starting as a seaman recruit and retiring as a captain. That is a bird colonel to you landlubbers. And I've retired after 34 plus years of service. I have 30 years of service with Delta Airlines as a pilot, 21 years as a captain, flying both domestic and worldwide. I retired in 1995. I have been a public volunteer, non-paid servant in Washington Parish starting back in the 1960s. As a demographer in reapportionment and redistricting plans, member of the Home Rule Charter Commission, chairman of the resulting redistricting plan, chairman of the Road Funding and Taxation Committee under the first parish president, which was Toy Taylor, to help him get some money to build some roads and keep them up. And now, as chairman of the all-volunteer, non-pay, non-expense reimbursed, not 1 cent, on the Washington Parish Reservoir Commission. I'm here to speak against the bill 373. I would like to introduce, and they can stand as appropriate, Charles Mizell, who is Vice President of the Commission. Back here. Mike Burris, who is our Treasurer. Bill Jenkins, Executive Liaison. I have Randy Denman, President of Denman Engineering, as our consultant in engineering, in case you have any questions. Ted Dittmer is a commission attorney on local affairs. And we have Keith Turner here as a commission attorney. Also in presence is Ryan Seal, who is Washington Parish Economic Development. It is important for you to understand the birth of the Washington Parish Reservoir Commission and District. In 1999, Cogentris proposed a $350 million, 800 megawatt plant just west of Bogalusa, requiring 7 million gallons of water per day at peak use. Water source was to be from the Mycene Aquifer. The neighbors lined up to protest. I'm taking a quote from some of the past history. We got mom and pops all over this place using this aquifer water, said the former chairman of the Louisiana Senate Environmental Quality Committee. He further goes on, we wish the power plants would come if they don't use drinking water to cool their engines. There was vast protest at the time. We don't have water. It'll dry up our wells. Across Louisiana, aquifers have dropped, according to the records, from 6 inches to 8 feet each year over the past several decades. That's what the records show. Public outcry prompted the Louisiana State Legislature to form a water management board. Worried that the Louisiana law would not protect their private wells, residents and the local water district in Washington Parish sued the company, that's Cogentious, over the water permits. Cogentious subsequently abandoned the project, selling to a company, Calpine, that promised to use wastewater at the plant. Wastewater, sewerage, brown water, would provide 1/3 to 1/2 of the needed water. Wastewater. The rest would be drawn from the aquifers. The neighbors continued. I repeat, the neighbors continued to protest about water shortages and private wells drying up, crying that there is not enough water. They also had something else to cry about from using the brown wastewater. Environmental issues now. Thus, the conception and the birth of the Washington Parish Reservoir District and Commission. First, by concurrent resolution number 158 in 2001. Then, and since Senator Mills has already covered the membership, how it's done, I'll avoid that. Act 71 in 2003 created the Washington Parish Reservoir Commission and District as a state commission under DOTD, basically tasked to determine the water situation in the area. If warranted and feasible, to determine site selection or selections and seek permitting for a reservoir or reservoirs for construction to capture surface water, thus minimizing demand on the sole source aquifer of our area. Washington Parish daily water usage is approximately 35 million gallons per day, of which 28 million, or 80%, comes from the aquifer. The major users being the local paper mill at approximately 18 million gallons a day and the city of Bogalusa at 12 million gallons a day. Research indicates that the aquifers are being depleted at an alarming and unsustainable recovery rate. In January of 2005, the Commission determined the best and most feasible site for construction of the needed reservoir, and that was to be on the Bogalusa Creek. This reservoir would capture surface runoff water at a daily average of 51 million gallons and still meet the requirements of downstream flow. All of that is regulated, folks. The ecosystems and all of that required. Now, some of these same neighbors are protesting that we have too much water. We don't need a reservoir. And after the site selection, especially in my backyard, I think you face that in all issues, state issues. Then, following in Act 307 and 205 by the state legislature, we were restricted, the Reservoir District and Commission, to permitting and constructing a single reservoir with expropriation of land limited only to the pool stage and for ingress to and egress from that single reservoir as necessary to construct, safely maintain, and operate such a single reservoir. Meanwhile, the Commission has been dealing with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Vicksburg District on permitting issues. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers appears to have overstepped the bounds of permitting, involving themselves in the state of Louisiana's water resource management and political authority. Presently, we are involved in negotiations and possible litigation on the appeal of only one permit denial. One and only one, and that came June 18th of the previous year. We're presently in appeal. The state of Louisiana has expended approximately $2.2 million thus far. Now, there's more other money is obligated, obviously. I'm going to defer from my notes just to read you an excerpt, which I will leave you a copy, DOTD. We requested an current enlightenment from DOTD. Written April the 5th, 2016, a couple of days ago, about their mission statements. Just going to read you a couple of high points here. To conserve and lessen our dependence on groundwater, we support efforts to plan, design, and construct reservoirs in proper locations throughout the state. Reservoirs are important to the state for the following reasons: provide alternative source of drinking water, provide alternative sources to the industry, commercial, and agricultural water, provide potential recharge to underlying aquifers, provide recreational areas and economic development potential. And pay close attention to this one: to provide storage for flood water mitigation flooding. People talking about being flooded from the breaking of the reservoir dam, which is not there. They were just overwhelmingly flooded along Bogalusa Creek. And if we had had a reservoir there, I would venture to say that about 75% of those homes downstream would have been saved from proper management of the reservoir, because 1 acre foot is over 1.15 billion gallons of water, and if you can drop your reservoir and manage it proper, and we had plenty of warning that these rains were coming. I'll let the engineers take care of that. I would venture to say 75% of those homes would not have their carpet ripped out today. Provide long-term storage during drought. Based on the previous mentioned information, this letter says, it can be concluded that the construction of properly located, designated, and maintained reservoirs and the continued rehabilitation and maintenance of existing dams and reservoirs should be considered fundamental to the future of water development in Louisiana. I'll leave you copies of that letter. So I will bring my remarks to close by reminding you I will bring my remarks to close by reminding you that you, meaning you senators, you legislators, you the legislature of the state of Louisiana, created and tasked the Washington Parish Reservoir District and Commission as your state agency under DOTD for the development of a potential water supply reservoir in Washington Parish. I would like to also state that if you read all the fine print in Senate Bill 373, it provides that work would continue on this project, even if you throw the Reservoir Commission out, which is an unpaid volunteer commission. So I also request, as somebody said before, follow the money. I don't get any of it. Not even a tank of gas, not even a meal, nothing. And neither do any of the members. But I would remind you that if you look at the fine print, this project would continue. Is that fair? Is it right not to have local representation? This volunteer, non-paid commission has been diligently working on the tasking that you, the legislature, task us with under DOTD. We stay in contact with DOTD. It is not in the state's best interest to jump ship in the middle of this situation. You would save very little, if any, money. I urge you not to grow weary. Such projects take time, especially when the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is involved. Please recall that Highway 3241, and if you're not familiar with that, that's the 4-lane highway to connect Bogalusa to Interstate 12, has been in process for about 40 years. U.S. Corps of Engineers has been involved. That 3241 started under then Senator B.B. 60 Rayburn, is far from completion, and it's been an art for all that. So I would urge you to vote against Senate Bill 373, and I will introduce our Randy Denman, who is president of Denman Engineering, our consultant. If you have any engineering questions, if you have any questions on our local appeals situation, you can address Mr. Turner. And
Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Chairperson, that
Thank you,
concludes my
Mr.
remarks.
Huey Long Pierce, for your comments. I'm just gonna, in the essence of time, we want you to have a fair hearing. But so if you give us if you have information that's different.
I'll be real brief.
Then what, you take as much time as you need, but don't give us the same information. Give us some
Correct.
new information if you have some new information.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Randy Denman. I am an engineer. I'm a public works engineer. I've done a lot of work for the DOTD directly over the years and on numerous projects similar to this. I just wanted to point out a few things. One was that this project is a state project and is a DOTD project. If this bill was passed, it would disband the commission and it would really just do away with local input into the project. It could still continue as a DOTD project. I did also want to mention that, and this is just based on my past experience in these projects, You know, the timeline on these projects is lengthy, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm going to cut the ribbon on a road next week that I've been working on 17 years, and we had a lot of environmental permits problems. These public works projects are much more lengthy. I think there was an article in the area here recently about the Comey River Diversion project. They're having the same problem, just bogged down with years of Corps permitting. Some of the statements that were made earlier, I wanted to make a statement from my perspective on it, and we do have our attorney here, Mr. Keith Turner, who specializes in environmental law. But we have had we withdrew our permit one time. That is correct, and currently the Corps did issue us a permit denial without prejudice, and Mr. Turner can emphasize that. That means that they might not be opposed to the project. They just think we need to do a little more work. You know, 8, 10, 12 years in this might not be a long time. These are like lengthy projects. I've worked on some of these projects that I'm 49 years old. They were working on when I got started, but we are actually building them and have built them. So I'll take any questions that the commission has.
We don't have anyone with any questions. Mr. Is it
Denman.
Dearman or
Denman.
Denman?
Mr. Denman.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Do you want to say something, Mr. Turner?
Yes, please. Yeah, Keith Turner. Yes. Let me clarify the permit denial issue because I think it's important. The prior folks mentioned that the primary reasons for permit denial was based upon lack of information, insufficient information, and no data. And that's misleading because the reason why the permit denial that was originally occurred was because an environmental impact statement was never conducted. And the commission expected the Corps of Engineers to go into an environmental impact statement process, which is proper for a project of this size, and it never happened. Quite honestly, there was prejudice against the project from the Corps individuals at the very beginning, and so it was denied. That's why we have an appeal. We expect to be successful either through the appeal process or permit engaging because there has not been an environmental impact statement completed for this project. That's where all these environmental issues are addressed. That's where the citizens concerned are addressed in the EIS process. And without having gone through that, it's unfair and it's premature at this point to suggest that there's environmental problems or other issues associated with this project. Thank you.
Could I make one more brief statement that I wanted to address from the proponents of the bill earlier? There's been a lot of misinformation out there about the water demand in the area. All the recent studies, including the ones commissioned by the DOTD, indicate that this area has some of the, just due to the growth in the Pontchartrain area, has some of the biggest water problems in the state, not just current, but long term as we move forward. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Have you gentlemen said all you need to say?
Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation. Do you have any other questions to me?
No questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Perry does have a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And gentlemen, this is addressed to anybody who wants to answer it because I'm going to give Senator Mizell the same opportunity to come back and kind of respond to it. Anytime I hear legislation would appropriate with some type of expropriation in it, I don't like it. And so I need y'all to talk to me about that because I don't like the government taking anybody's property at all.
No, neither did I, and I didn't like them taking my property for $32.41.
Okay, so
but they paid appropriately for it, and that is, I don't think I can put up a barrier to keep people from crossing the highway because because I was the little 2-lane highway was suiting me fine.
Okay.
But nevertheless, you do have
that's
right.
Back to this.
You don't normally have to invoke expropriation.
Okay, so has any property been expropriated?
No.
Okay, you're the engineer, what's the intent moving forward on any expropriation of property?
Well, no property would ever be expropriated until you had a permit and a final and a plan.
So can you answer me based on what permit or what plan has put forward in the future, what land property would be expropriated?
Obviously, to build a project of this size or any size, you have to have the power of expropriation.
Okay.
the Lake Commission has the powers of expropriation that the DOTD currently has. I'm not an attorney, but I do believe the bill.
Oh, but
the
you've been doing
initial-
this long enough to know.
But the bill was amended at one time to give the property owners even further protections. That the Lake Commission can't take any property outside the water line. That means they couldn't take any stuff for roads, parks. They could only take property within the water line of the lake.
Senator Perry,
Yeah,
if
so,
I may.
no, hold on. So potentially, you have an idea of how many homes would this affect?
And we've provided that number.
Not to me.
No,
I have that in this handout.
Okay.
What it was
But
originally.
here's the thing. This is just some of the information we're going to need if we're going to be voting.
We've provided all that information, but one thing that's key in this bill is this bill will disband the commission. If the commission stays in place, you have local representation to be guided through any process that might come. That does not mean that if you disbanded the commission, the DOTD could not continue to pursue this project without local representation. That's a key measure. If you were to disband the commission, then there's no guarantee that this project is a state project under the DOTD's current public works program.
Okay. So specifically on expropriation, I'm gonna just leave it open-ended. Anybody else want to say anything about the expropriation? Because I'm
There's only
telling you,
one cemetery that would have to be moved. That's the Rester Cemetery. I recall that.
We have the exact
Have all
numbers
that data.
of numbers of homes that are impacted, and landowners. That's all been provided to the Corps. That's all been made public. We have maps of the project. I want to say it's about 8 to 10. I'm taking it right off my head,
No, that's-
but that might not be the final number in the end.
I understand.
And, but no, typically the state tries to negotiate for property acquisition. If you can't, then it's expropriated.
If I could add one to your point also,
Yes,
I
sir.
think it's important, because the EIS process has not been completed, all the alternatives that could be considered have not been done yet. So I mean, the size and shape they're talking about here is proposed, but it's quite possible it could be substantially different.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and the reason I bring that up is that besides Senator Mizell, who I've only known for 2 months, I don't know any of these other people, but I can tell you if it was in my district, my concern would be, I mean, what are these people supposed to do? I mean, they live in limbo. I mean, until I mean, do they sell their home? Do they not? Do they what value? That's kind of the concern. My concern, I guess, is more on the taking through the expropriation than honestly even the issues of whether it should be done or not. The expropriation is really what always bothers me the most. So I mean, that's what, in line with my questioning. So
Well, but the shape and the form of whatever reservoir is proposed can address, local issues at that time. That's
But,
part of what that process
I mean,
would do.
y'all would agree. I mean, right now they are in limbo. Nobody knows
Correct.
whether or not their house is going to be taken, or whether they should sell. If it's that's
Well,
There's no-
Senator, if I may, I don't know where your house is, but the state could bring a road through your house any minute. I mean, they could project one through it, so you could be in limbo about a road coming through, and they could expropriate.
not as
But you
not as
don't-
long as I'm senator. But I understand what you're saying.
It's a,
But nevertheless, until the permit goes in, we do know the number of houses, and I think it's less than 20, if I recall. I don't have the figure right for me.
Okay, and then one last question. In the potential, and I understand there's a lot not known because of any of y'all have homes or property that's in the potential,
No, but I wish I was located over there. I really do. I wish I would end up on
but
that.
none of y'all do.
no.
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't own
Madam
one
Chair.
square inch of property around there, and I've warned people, don't do it. I mean, if you do, have full disclosure.
Okay. Senator Martini for a question.
I have the same concerns, and maybe I don't understand it. Nothing has been done by way of expropriation as of
No,
yet.
sir.
Correct.
All you have done is told people, we're trying to do this, and if we get the permit, we're going to do that. We're going to buy it.
Well, provided,
that's
provided you
not
want
the
to
way.
continue to build it.
No, if they're going to build it, though, at that point in time is when you have to go do the expropriation.
That's exactly right.
And I just with sticks in my mind. You just asked Senator Perry. You know, the DOTD might come put a road right through your house, except they're going to tell you they're going to do it.
Right.
What you're telling these people is, we might do it. We hope to do it, but we're not sure we can. And we've been in this process for 13 years, and we still don't know. Now, how do you go sell that property?
Well,
obviously, it would be, and I am a lawyer, and it would be
full disclosure, obviously.
I'm sorry.
Full disclosure, obviously.
Well, but in my mind, that's what you would refer to as a redhibitory vice, which would say if I sold that property and didn't tell them, oh, by the way, they're putting a reservoir through here, or possibly putting, they'd have a right of action to do that. So my concern is the length of time. I understand once I tell you I'm gonna begin expropriation proceedings, that's one thing. But y'all are 13 years down the road. And these people are still sitting on that same piece of property. And for 13 years, I would suggest to you that they've had to disclose, if somebody wanted to buy it, that there is this distinct possibility, which I think extremely devalues their ability. So,
Ed, can you address that expropriation under the state laws of Louisiana? Would you?
now I also understand, while he's coming to the table, that even if we disband this commission, DOTD could possibly do the same thing.
Yeah, and one thing of note, and this kind of is a misconception here, we talk about this environmental permitting. It's not just environmental permitting. One of the reasons of the length of the permitting process is we are required to notify all of the landowners of our action. Those are input into this core process. So it's not just an environmental, part of this trying to address the problem precipitates the problem. And all we can do is follow the rules and the laws that point us in this direction. There's no pretty way to build a project of this scale.
Before he answers, let me ask you this. Let's assume that this bill dies. Oh, let's assume it passes or dies. If DOTD is going to take it and move forward with the project, when would you anticipate going to if you're doing it, and going to these people and saying, we've got to expropriate your property? I mean, next month, 2 years from now? I mean,
it's the same problem we have on a lot of these projects. We don't have a definitive answer.
well, I've heard you say that, but are you telling me that it is typical? I understand it happens sometime. Are you telling me that it's typical that these things last 15 to 20 years?
Correct.
The majority of these types of operations.
And there was a big article in the Advocate 2 weeks ago about the Comite River version, and it was the same problem with the landowners, that they were complaining about the time length, and they didn't know whether they could sell, and they couldn't buy the property they got the permit, and it was just kind of mired in this same.
Now, when you value that property, when you ultimately go there, do you value it based on the fact that there's going to be a reservoir going through there, or you value it based on the fact that if there were not a reservoir going through there, would it be worth?
Pre-project, isn't that correct? The property is
What'd you
valued
say?
Pre-project, whether it improves it or
Give them
decreases
the
it.
value that it was 13 years ago.
No, sir. It's the current market value.
Yeah.
Yeah, the current market value if there was not a reservoir
Yes, sir.
being built there. Okay, thank you.
You want to?
Madam Chairman, Ted Dittmer. I had a brief response to Senator Martini, if I may proceed.
Proceed.
The question was about whether or not the expropriation was constitutional or legal. And what I wanted to say very briefly was I'm the attorney for the commission, and the commission was sued last year, and by a person who had bought a piece of property in the area that's presently located within the footprint of the reservoir.
I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you if it was constitutionally legal.
Well, I thought the question.
Maybe you were answering somebody else's question. That wasn't my question.
I thought the question was whether or not, if the property was subject to expropriation, that would be a redhibitory defect, or it would affect the value of the property. And was that?
I was discussing that. Okay.
Right, and that was also the point made in the lawsuit that I defended. And we went to the district court, tried the case, and we went to the Court of Appeal, and both the district court and the Court of Appeal said no, it was not a redhibitory defect. Well, a redhibitory defect in any case is a seller-buyer situation, but the idea that the fact that your property is in a proposed reservoir and it's uncertain whether or not it may be one day expropriated may affect the price that someone would be willing to pay for that property in the meantime before it was actually appropriated, but it was not a title defect.
Are you telling me, well, I'm not talking about a title defect, are you telling me that if you owned a piece of property there, based upon that court ruling, you would not be duty-bound to tell a prospective buyer that, hey, there's a project out there that may well end up in a reservoir being built here where your property would be taken?
Absolutely, if you were a seller. But the
Absolutely, you would have to tell them.
Sure, but the district isn't
And if you,
selling property.
as a lawyer, and if you didn't tell them,
Right.
and they sued you claiming it was a redhibitory vice, you would say it was not?
No, it may well be a redhibitory vice, but the district is not a seller. This is between buyer and seller. The point that was made in the lawsuit in which the Court of Appeal opined on was that it may affect the price that a buyer may pay for property.
But it's definitely going to affect the price. How can you say it may affect the price?
But a buyer is going to know.
It may affect it that it's more valuable. I don't know, but I mean,
Exactly.
but you
Somebody
surely can't.
might speculate and buy it because they think it's a good deal.
Well, maybe
But
I misunderstood your answer. I thought what you told me was you took it to court and they said it wasn't a redhibitory vice. And then when I asked you, you said, well, it wouldn't be a redhibitory vice to the district because they're not selling it.
The district was my client and the district was the defendant, so the court said it wasn't a redhibitory vice.
As
to
it
the
pertains
district.
to the district.
Yeah, it was a cause of action issue. But the Court of Appeal indicated that it could well be a redhibitory issue between a buyer and a seller. Point was that the fact that it affected the value of the property, as you recognize, was not something that gave them a right of action against the district at this point. The court recognized that it may well affect
Against the district.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Senator Donahue?
Yes, sir. Before you leave the table, if you would. So what does this bill do?
This bill would, as I understand it, disband the commission,
Right. Okay.
but it would not affect the project that's a DOTD
That
project.
was going to be where I was going with that. So if we get rid of the commission,
We have
we
no more-
pass this bill and there's no commission, these people still have the same problem, right?
Correct. And the problem they then have is with, an agency in Baton Rouge without any local representation in their own parish. And these commissioners, remember, are appointed by parish council so that there is input and there is control and local representation. All this bill would do would be to remove the commissioners. It would not remove this project. It would go
Would
forward.
not remove the possibilities of a reservoir being built in that location.
It would not.
So if the bill passes, have you helped the people who own property out there?
It doesn't appear so. Well, if the bill passes, then you lose your local representation.
If the bill passes, you lose your local representation, but the project in the mind of DOTD, I suppose, still exists.
Sure, and it would go forward on some basis.
So what's the relief for the people who own the property?
None.
The only thing you could do is get rid of the commission and ban a reservoir.
Well, there could be some additional legislation passed that would stop the project, but this wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've tortured Senator Nevers enough where he's filling out a white card so he can come
Thank you, Senator
to the
Donahue.
table. Thank you, sir. Yes. Thank you, Madam.
Senator Martini for a question.
Very briefly, as I understand it, this commission is pushing to develop this reservoir, correct?
We're carrying out the tasking of checking out the water situation, and as I said, if it was feasible to build a reservoir, to go for a permit, and that's what we're doing. We're carrying out your tasking, the legislative tasking.
You want to build the reservoir.
Well, we think it's needed.
Okay, I understand that.
We think it's
So
needed.
if we do away with the commission that wants to build the reservoir, that's one less agency that these people have to go convince to not build the reservoir.
Well, it's the local.
So it's not exactly.
It's the local, and I want to be careful with my words. It's the local body of which to snap at. It does away with them because they'd have to drive to Baton Rouge and talk to DOTD.
I understand that, but I'm just trying to reduce it down to a little, I guess, playground politics. Okay, you're opposed to what they're opposed to what you want to do. So if they get you out of the way, that's one less obstacle for them to fight.
They might be looking at that, but this bill does
I wish
not do that.
DOTD was here, because then DOTD could tell us that no matter what we do, I would feel much more comfortable agreeing with you if DOTD said, we're going to build this reservoir. It's our intention to do it, whether you have this commission or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But as I see it, I'm not hearing anything other than to suggest that you want the reservoir.
Well, DOTD is in full support of building reservoirs. I gave you a letter on that.
Okay.
I gave you a letter. I read you certain excerpts of it, Senator, that they are very much behind in the water resource management of this state is to capture some of that runoff.
Well, then why do we need the commission?
Well, I think you do, because if you don't, may I return that question of why did we need senators?
You can. That'll get you a lot of votes in this building. I'll tell you that. I hear you.
But I mean, no. I'm not trying to aggravate you, but I mean, I'm just saying that could go a long way. I would appreciate your support, though, sir. This bill just takes the commission out of the picture. It does not kill the reservoir.
Okay, I think that Senator Nevers would like to come up for informational purposes. Senator Nevers, welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman and members, and thank you for the time that you spent on this issue. And let me say it's a difficult issue, and I certainly appreciate where Senator Mizell's coming from. She has a constituency that opposes the project and would like to see it come to end. And I might say that, you know, there's other projects. The one that was mentioned here, 3241, it's been an ongoing project for 40 years, and it's moved routes. We've bought property, and we've had to sell it back and all that. So it's not uncommon for these projects to take this length of time. But it does put a difficult burden upon people that live in an area that's been selected. But I might say that basically this commission followed the Corps of Engineers' suggestions and did a parish-wide study as to where the best place would be to locate a reservoir. And the end result was this particular area for various reasons, but you can dig out the reports if you'd like. But let me say, these are good people that oppose this bill. I can tell you many of them that live in that area have been lifelong friends of mine, and some of them today are probably don't like Ben Nevers. And I understand that. The only reason this project was ever proposed was the fact that we felt there was a huge need to use surface water rather than aquifer water. The other point I would like to make, this governor took office January the 11th. And I have not received, or nothing's come across my desk about any different reservoir commissioners being appointed. Now, they mentioned that there was some submission in August. I can tell you, I assume they took that information with them in the bags that left here, because I haven't seen them. If they would send us some requests, certainly this governor will consider that. And I'm only here testifying for myself, certainly not for the governor's office. But I would just like for all of you to consider allowing these commissioners to complete their job. They've been working for 13 years. Not 1 gallon of gasoline has been paid for by the state. Not one meal has been paid for by the state. They've done this on their own, and it's been a very controversial issue. So expropriation of Senator Martini and Senator Perry bothers me to no extent, because these are the people I grew up with. I would hope we would never have to expropriate a piece of property, period. I don't know what the final design that the Corps might would approve would be, and I would hope it would be one that no homes are impacted and no cemeteries are impacted. I can't tell you what that would be. And the reason this has been drawn out so long is not because of this commission, it's because of the Corps of Engineers requirements. And you can see there in the appeal process now, there is no money in the capped outlay budget, Senator Mizell or any of my good friends and colleagues, that goes toward this project. If you look in the capital outlay budget as it appears today in the House of Representatives, HB2, there's nothing in there for this reservoir. And look, I've kept it in there all these years. There's not one dime in there. Expropriation rights, I don't like either. I'm just like other people. But I also know sometimes it's absolutely necessary. I would hope it would never be necessary on this project, but I can't guarantee that it wouldn't be. But all I'm asking you to do is allow these people to complete the job. There's no parish councilman here today. There's no parish president here today that is asking you to discontinue this commission. And I will tell you, if they will send this new governor proposals as to who they would like appointed to this commission, this governor will give every consideration to them. Please let them complete their task. It's been a huge task. They've received tremendous criticism, and I'm just asking you to allow them to continue to volunteer their service and continue the process. All of us have heard DOTD would certainly just take the project over and do as they please, and I can tell you local input and local commissions won't be available if you repeal this. There is a process for the parish council to send us recommendations to appoint to this commission, and I would ask you to allow that process to move forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Will you answer any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Donahue.
Thank you. You know what, I think that, I'm just wondering how I would be as a homeowner for 13 years, maybe having my property, I don't know, it's not tied up. You couldn't do anything with it if you wanted to. That wouldn't be a good situation for us. And I know I have people on both sides of this issue.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering if there's not something Senator Nevers able to continue. You want the commission to be able to continue to do its investigatory process, but I'm wondering for how long? If it's been 13 years, do we have to give them another 13 years?
No, sir, you don't.
So if that would be unacceptable, is there some time frame by which, everybody has already expressed their opinion about the expropriation process. If I was a homeowner there and was kind of in limbo for all this period of time, I would have the same feeling. So I think we all probably are all homeowners and understand that. So if we disband the commission by this bill, then the reservoir still, as far as DOTD is concerned, the reservoir could still exist.
Well, certainly the process could still exist, and
does it exist without the commission?
Yes, sir. To my knowledge, it does.
So what your thought is that if we disband the commission, DOTD hasn't abandoned its process about what to do, and then these people are saddled in that position. So I don't know if Senator Mizell agrees with that. And I'd like to hear what she had to say about that. But
Sure.
I don't think we can. Listen, you and I have worked on 3241 for a lot of years.
Yes, sir.
And we went through that process, and I guess those people that had the road designated, but there was no route chosen, and there was 4 or 5 routes, and I guess everybody was miserable for a while. But at least it came to a relatively successful conclusion. I'm just wondering how we could bring this to a conclusion. If there's going to be a reservoir there, then those people ought to be able to have the opportunity to sell their land at the right price to the state of Louisiana. I wouldn't like to have to do that, but understand that process. But to not put them in a position where they can do that and just leave them in limbo, it just seems to be an impossible situation for the homeowners. So how could we clear that up?
Well, certainly, I would hope that this appeals process with the Corps of Engineers would be settled, within a year or so. I can't guarantee that because, litigation is quite complicated, especially with the Corps of Engineers. But I think the site selection process, and through this process, there could be negotiations as to how to design the project and come up with a permittable
Well, how about a sunset on
reservoir.
a commission?
Well, I think that's certainly something could be considered, and certainly I'm certainly not one here to say that I would disagree with that. I would like for you to allow these people to continue and finish their job, simply because we put them in that position. I was one of the ones that had an appointment there. Senator Mizell will have an appointment if she wishes. She needs to send that in to the governor's office, and we certainly will consider that. But I can tell you to disband it after all these years, and the dollars that we spent, not only state dollars but local dollars were also put up to do some of this.
How many dollars do you think we spent, Senator Nevers?
They said $2 million something. But I can tell you, as I said, if you look at the capital outlay budget, there's $0 there. That's because the governor cut over $1 billion worth of projects out of the capital outlay bill. And probably no one up here, and certainly me, I'm not happy either. But it's something he had to do. So I think there would be a solution. I don't know. I'm certainly willing to work with Senator Mizell. And as far as information, the governor's office is not involved in this issue. I want to make sure you understand that. And the only reason I'm here was to provide information, if necessary, about the
Historical
history.
data, Senator.
Yes.
Historical data.
Yes, sir. Whatever. But I want to say this: the people in Washington Parish, the landowners in Washington Parish, because of bills by Representative Ritchie and myself, are more protected than any property owners in the state of Louisiana, because we wanted to make sure they were protected. And I can tell you, as far as assessment values, we froze them at whatever rate they would be at before the reservoir would be built. So if you had to take their property, or if they sold the property to you, the assessment was frozen. So we tried to protect them from every direction we could. I understand their issues, and I'm not saying if my home was in the middle of it that I wouldn't be concerned. But I can tell you this, I would appreciate you allowing this commission to at least finish the task that the legislature assigned them.
Well, I think Senator Mizell's doing the job that he was hired to do, representing the people she's supposed to represent, and there needs to be a solution here.
Well, I certainly don't disagree with that. Senator Mizell certainly.
Listen, I'm looking at you like you can do it. Sorry, Ben.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question, Madam Chair?
Senator Martini for a question.
Yeah, Senator Nevers, I didn't know that while I was helping you and Representative Ritchie, you were protecting all of your people better than my people. So I'm somewhat put aside by that. But I know I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a statement. I have respect for everybody in this process, and even though I had a little tete-a-tete with one of the witnesses, I understand his passion on the thing, and I surely don't interpret that as me being for or against anybody, but we do want to come up with a reasonable solution to this problem. Both sides have got a good argument on this thing, and unfortunately, when you have to bring your dirty laundry to us, we're the ones that have to try to figure out the best way to clean it. So please don't take any offense at any reaction I had. You can ask Jack or Yvonne. I have bad reactions all the time in this building, so that's all.
Okay. We don't have a quorum right now, but we're gonna. Senator, you were done with all your comments.
Yes, ma'am.
And opposition, you've had your say, and so Senator Mizell, come up.
Thank you, Senator Nevers.
And closing, just tell us your closing thoughts on it. And
Just a couple of comments. As far as expropriation, it's one thing to ask for your land to be taken for a road or a hospital or a school, but to have it hanging over your head that your land will be under 40 feet of water for a long time it's not only unfair, it's torturous. I mean, you can't qualify that by saying 3241's taken 40 years. 3241's going through mostly undeveloped property. the other thing I want to say is this bill was to repeal the district, Washington Parish Reservoir District, and by definition of a bill that it's repealing, it said, if you don't mind me reading from the original bill, which was Senator Jerry Thomas's bill. There is hereby created a recreation and water conservation reservoir district to be known as the Washington Parish Reservoir District for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and operating a single reservoir in Washington Parish as provided in this part. For purposes of this part, the term reservoir shall mean and include only a single lake or reservoir that has been created by the district or which the district has proposed to create in Washington Parish. And it goes into what the district would encompass. This bill was intended to do away with the district. The commission is only there because the district exists. If there's a problem with that, I certainly will rectify that. But that there is no way that the public's interest is served by doing away with the commission without doing away with the full reservoir district. So that was my intent. And the other comment was that when you say 11 homes are affected, there's 65 homes that are affected. Much as when we talk about 3241, land that had never been developed in 3241 over 40 years is there's many more people affected now. But in this district, there's 65 homes, there's 5 cemeteries, and maybe the commission's getting their numbers by people who are directly underwater. But when you have property next to a 40-foot high wall holding back water, your property's useless. Can you imagine a 40-foot wall of dirt next to your home? So that basically multiplies the number of people affected a lot larger. Jerry Thomas, the senator who had created this bill in 2003, has said he wouldn't have done it now, that he's reconsidered this. He said this at a parish council meeting. And also the reason has changed from a recreation idea for water to creating water for commercial sale to we don't have enough water in the aquifer. And again, that's a torture to the people who live there, that they're going to lose their homes for commercial sale of water, or so that people can really do some great skiing, or so that water can be sold. So that I wanted to just give you some clarification on the things that had been said. As of today, you have a question?
Senator Martini.
We don't have a question.
I hate to see anybody walk away without anything. What I would think is, if you believe, I take it you're against this project. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And that there are a lot of people that are against this project.
Right.
Were we to put a 1-year sunset on this commission to give you and the people who are against it the opportunity to go meet with DOTD and convince them that they shouldn't go through would that help? I mean,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, right now, in the scheme of things, a year is a very short time, considering they've waited 13 years. So, I mean, to know that there was a sunset.
But it may take 13 years or 15 years or 20 years to do the project. But let's face it, if we keep the commission in place, and DOTD decides they don't want to do the project, doesn't matter anyway.
Right.
So why don't we put the horse back in front of the cart and go and give you at least the opportunity to go plead your case to DOTD. Mm-hmm. Come back next year, if there's no progress, then you can go through it again. That's your call. But I would, if that makes any sense, I would offer that as an amendment. So
I would be happy to accept that amendment if that's possible.
I guess that the effective date would be what? It doesn't matter. The effective date would be that it would sunset as of.
Fred's got a question.
As of July the 1st, 2017.
Fred's got a question.
Well, no. My point is this: if Senator Mizell is persuasive enough with DOTD during the next year, that where they say we're not going to do the project, then it doesn't. Is there any reason for the commission to exist?
Well, the Corps may have a reply before DOTD, before the end of the year.
I mean, whoever the
DOTD can't do anything without Corps approval right now, and they're not having Corps approval.
Okay. So if well, let's say this: if it looks like the Corps may be coming down next summer, then we can address that issue then. I just don't think it's right to let these people hang in the balance forever. But in the same way, if what these gentlemen are saying is, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, if the Corps approves it, it's DOTD's call. Then that gives
Well,
you
the
the
money
opportunity.
has to come through DOTD.
Right. But if they decide they're not going to do the project, then there's unless I'm reading something wrong, there's no need for the commission. The commission's created to
Carry out
the reservoir.
Right.
If the DOT is not going to do the reservoir, doesn't make any sense to have the commission.
Right.
So let's go. I'm just trying to give
I'm
you some
happy-
time to plead your case to DOTD and to
And
the
I
Corps.
appreciate that, because I just think these people deserve to know there's got to be an end to this. There's got to be an end. And I think you had a question.
Senator Martini, are you done?
I'm done.
Senator Mills.
Senator, I want to congratulate you because you just got here and you fighting for your folks, and that's what you brought here to do. You really are, and you fighting for your folks. And this kind of reminds me of Lake Pinier that I've been bothering y'all on forever in Iberia Parish, and I understand that. I just would suggest that y'all go back home as a group and work this thing through. I think from what Senator Nevers said about a new commission, they'll do the appointments as necessary, but I'm seeing the flavor here. This board is working. These landowners have concerns. Y'all need to go back home and work on this and not repeal the commission as of yet. And if y'all want to, after y'all all sit down and y'all come with some resolutions and tell us that y'all all in unison, I think this committee is kind of taking an approach when it's that divisive in a community. Don't make us choose. I say go back home and work on it, and we'll always be interested to hear it again. That's just my thoughts. Because I'm just watching the body language of everybody, and you got commissioners working hard. You got landowners that are worried, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, this is a parish issue that y'all should be meeting with DOTD, pleading your case, telling them what you do. Because if your commission goes away, you lose local representation to interact with DOTD. But if you want to kill your project, just go to DOTD, and we'll get you a meeting with Sean Wilson tomorrow.
I'm just going to, I think if I may, Chairman, I'd like to defer the bill, and may I do that?
You want to temporarily defer it?
Please.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think we'll do that. And then what our committee has been about is when there have been local issues like this, we tell both sides to go work it out and come to some kind of compromise. And
With
then,
all due respect, we've been working this out for 10 years.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
But the 11th year may be the good one. It may be just a good one. But is there any objection to temporarily deferring the bill?
I'll make the motion.
Senator Mills moves that we temporarily defer Senate Bill 373 without objection, so ordered. We'll be here when you're ready to come back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you all
thank
so
you.
much for your patience.
Thank you. Senator Barrow. We don't have a quorum.
You did a great job.
Okay. Okay, we'll call you when we need a vote. Let me do some cleanup. Senator Barrow, as you take in your seat, we had Senator Ben Nevers in for information purposes. Mr. Huey Long Pierce in opposition. Mr. Ryan Seal in opposition. Mr. Ted Dittmer in opposition. Mr. Charles Mazzell in opposition. Mr. Keith Turner in opposition. Mr. Randy Denman in opposition. And Mr. Michael Borio in opposition. And Mr. Bill Jenkins in opposition. And in support, Ms. Virginia Corkin, Mr. Philip Bedwell, and Ms. Jalen Pittman Beck. And that was on Senate Bill 373. Senator Barrow.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. First of all, let me do some housekeeping as well. I want to defer my bill, Senate Bill 137, to next week. I don't want to take it up today. I'm just going to do Senate Bill